Hey, good morning, all. This video is a promise I wanted to keep to a sister who asked me a question on my video I posted last night about the food shortages and rising prices. So, Sister Janet, so she asked, um, what country you're going to, or suggests. We have our passports all up to date. Thank goodness we did that last year. So I said I would make a video about this and how to best prepare. So, there's no particular country that is going to be safe during the end times. I mean, right now there are some maybe that are cheaper to live in, but as far as like if we just take the end time, if we start with the end and work backwards to our present day right now, during the last 7 years, right? So that's when the final temple will, not the final temple, but the third temple will be built. Okay, the third temple will be in existence already at the last 7 years of the world. Before that, we're waiting for it to be constructed. Now, during these last 7 years, you're going to have the temple and the sacrifices being instituted, and then right in the middle, the sacrifices and the oblations for the third temple are going to stop. And then that's when you're going to see the abomination of desolation, aka the Antichrist, reveal himself and declare himself to be God. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time rehashing prophecy because I believe that's already been covered quite a bit. Everyone has the basic idea and the basic picture that we're just waiting on the third temple to be built. And um, we know that the building for the temple will start once the red heifer has been, once Israel has a red heifer that is perfect, that they can kill and use for their purification rituals needed to cleanse themselves before beginning any of the construction or the rituals for the temple. Right now, they just have everything stockpiled and the building plans for it. So, when we go back to Matthew 24, Christ, he says that for those who are in Judah to flee into the mountains. And he says that those who are at home or in the city, don't go back to collect anything. And those who are out in the open field or in the countryside don't don't go back either. Um, let's just turn there real quick. Okay, we already have the other stuff that's been fulfilled and continually being fulfilled. Where have the false Christ, have the false prophets. We have the pestilence. We got the plagues, the famine, the earthquake, all around the world, and wars and rumors of wars. Okay, that's already been happening. Those are the beginning of sorrows or birth pangs. Then we got the betrayal being talked about. Many will be offended. Okay, the love of the world is growing cold. And Christ says that by the time the gospel of the kingdom is preached to all the world as a witness to all nations, the end will come. And during that time, in the middle of the 3.5 years, is when the abomination of desolation, or the Antichrist, will reveal himself. So Christ says, flee into the mountains. Okay, if you're at home and you're in the city, leave it. If you're in the open country, leave. And, you know, he's like, he gives empathetic, and sympathetic cry to those who are nursing or pregnant during that time, or just have a hard time moving around and can't move as quickly. And he says, pray that your flight be not in the winter or on the Sabbath, because in the wintertime, it's a hard time, generally speaking, for anyone to move around and escape because of how harsh the weather conditions are going to be. And in the Sabbath, I mean, you're not supposed to travel for a whole day on the Sabbath, so you can't really flee at that time. And we read in Revelation 12 that the church will be given wings to fly into the wilderness and will be cared for 3.5 years. So the last 3.5 years for the world. Okay? You can read that for yourselves here. But as far as being prepared and what to do, since Christ gave us this prophecy way ahead of time and reminded us of it, now is the time to, if you haven't done so already or started, now is the time to start stockpiling on resources and getting yourselves and your families spiritually and physically prepared to live in the wilderness and the mountains. Because, I mean, Christ is not saying to flee the city and the country for no reason. Because, again, I touched on this in the last video, I believe, a little bit, and maybe in some of my other ones. But during the time of Great Tribulation, the tribulation, at that time, the mark of the beast is going to come. And Satan is going to be so angry, he's going to be so desperate, that he's going to persecute anyone remaining that speaks about God. And why is that? Well, because Satan doesn't believe in God, and he wants to do away with the prophecy that he will be thrown into the lake of fire and be defeated by Christ. So Satan has deluded himself into believing that if he can destroy anyone or censor anyone from talking about Christ, defeating him, then somehow in his deluded mind he believes that the prophecy of Christ will not come true. Okay, in Revelation 12, he clearly couldn't go after Christ. He couldn't stop Christ from being risen from the dead and ascending back to heaven, and he couldn't stop the church. So he's going after the remaining believers. That's us. Those who keep the commandments of God and the testimony of Christ. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's like, is this going to be a possibility? No. It's certain 100% it's going to happen this way. Don't fool yourself into believing otherwise. So, like, I just want to show this, let's see, family, oops. No, I don't want to show that movie.
A premiere week exclusive on Tamron Hall. A rising political star's fall from grace.
I cried every day.
Plus, Samuel L. Jackson, Chris Evans, and Tamron's big 5-0 birthday bash.
Don't get lost in that garbage.
The hardest part about the first couple of sons being here was having to be with myself.
It's just us out here in the woods and the water.
We'll be living out here for 11 months. There's nothing else but me, these other people, and these woods.
There's no refrigerator, there's no stove, there's no music, there's no telephone, there's no computer, there's no enclosed environment, there's no privacy.
I came with my 12-year-old Andre and my 5-year-old Gio.
I came here with my partner Alex and with my son Boris.
I came here with my daughter Julia and her mother Kirsten. We came here because we really have a strong longing to live in a clan, to live outside and keep learning to live the old way.
Let's fast forward a bit.
Bags right here.
So they're moving out.
It's like, wow.
Children will yell at each other. They'll bite each other. They'll, scream. The parents won't do that, but you wait till after all the early part wears off, this euphoria, when that wears out, then you'll see the parents, the adults, behaving that way too.
My priority right now is I don't want to lose any more weight. I don't know if you can hear that, but I'm going to state it again because I feel totally unheard. My priority is I don't want to lose any more weight.
I miss a heater. I miss constant temperature. I miss warm water. I miss friends, going to restaurants, movies, and I miss my bed.
Where we come from, each of us is responsible for taking care of ourselves. We make sure we get a job, we make sure we pay our bills. And here, we get up in the morning and we have to think about, what does the circle need? What do these people need?
The belt's getting, but I can almost take it like that.
Normally I go to the supermarket and to buy my food.
I'm eating bread, drinking coffee, eating ice cream. Yeah, I'm eating everything from an animal.
So clearly we're living in a slave system, and this should give you an idea of how enslaved and spoiled and comfortable we really are. Because, and this should also give us insight into why the Israelites were so unbelieving when they were freed from Egypt. They were living in the city. They were very comfortable with their way of living because everything was pretty much handed to them. They could buy stuff. They had, garlics, leeks, onions, meat cooked for them. All they had to do was just be a good old slave, right? Just work for wages. They had settled for that way of living. But now, after they had gained true freedom and they're out in the wilderness, then they start complaining. Why? Because, we didn't have to do these things before. Everyone just thought about themselves. But now you hear the feelings that these people, right? They start out all excited about living in the wilderness and like, oh yeah, it's so great, this and that. But then, after some time actually living there and living there for their first year, or out in the wilderness for the first year, they're starting to see like, man, our ideas were completely wrong about this. And we're so used to being so comfortable and, having controlled room temperature and not having to go out and cut our own food. We just buy everything. We're so used to that. So I want to show, I wanted to show that as like an idea of you had better start preparing yourself way in advance. Like that, when you go into the wilderness, like, okay, yes, it has been prophesied we'll be cared for by God. However, that does not mean God will not test us in the same way that he tested the children of Israel when he led them through the wilderness for 40 years. Okay? So, you had better start preparing yourselves spiritually and physically now for what is to come, because if you're going to try and bring all the modern comforts with you, you got the completely wrong idea. So I want to show them, I want to show some other people and what they're doing. So here's this couple.
It costs Peter and Miriam around $5,000 a year.
So here's this couple, right? They've learned how to fend for themselves in the wilderness of New Zealand, right? For 7 years. They give their little story, but here the reason why the woman, she's back in the city, is because while they've learned to do quite a few things in the wilderness for the last 7 years, they're still they still have the mindset to go back to the city to get certain things. And it's going to get to a point where you won't be able to do that, which is why the beast, or the Antichrist, will mark everyone, give everyone the mark of the beast, and you won't be able to buy or sell unless you possess the mark of the beast or the number of the name of the beast. And you're going to have to fully rely on God if you're not already doing it now. Okay? Like, they're not the only ones doing like this, where they live out in the wilderness and then they come back every so often to restock on supplies. Let's see. Wilderness, survival. This is why I'm saying you need to prepare yourself now and get yourself with the attitude and the mindset of being self-sufficient and relying on God to guide you and help care for you and your family when you flee to the wilderness and to the mountain. Like, you got a lot of these guys, they're just doing it just for the fun of it. They're not out there actually trying to survive. They just want to show how much they know. And then you got other people like this, they're just, again, they're doing it for views. They're not really thinking about, that they're going to actually have to live like this as the times get crazier. Jeez, where's that video? No, here it is. Move to the wilderness. That's it. This here. Okay, so here's another couple.
Following the featured card or link in the description. So yeah, we are fruitfulness, which means we are. Science is beginning to recognize the importance of.
So this is another couple that's moved to the jungle. Guess if you want to move to the jungle, you can. But again, going to have to learn more than that. It's not always going to be sunny all the time everywhere. Here you got other people giving their stories. There's another one I wanted to show. Why can't I find it?
sheep keeps out from the yard and what?
Okay, so I mean, then you got some other people who, I mean, they're like closer in the idea, but you know, they're still not quite there. Here you have this couple, they're showing off like this land that they have that they live on, and they're homesteading, but it's gonna be it's gonna be worse than that according to scripture. You know, it's like, oh, where is that video that I found? I mean, okay, and then you got other people just moving to Portugal, moving to other countries that are clearly just cheaper, but again, you know, no one's going to be exempt or safe no matter what country you are in. And why can I not find that video, dude? It's getting kind of irritating, actually. Because it's not going to be all cute like this where you can just keep posting videos. It's going to get to a real life situation where, yeah, you're actually going to have to be living like this, or you're going to have to subject yourself to the B system. Here you got other guys just playing around. So, you know, well, I think that's pretty good, you know, for now. I just wanted to, why could I not find that video, man? Hold on. This one I watched, it's like a dad, him and his son are like experimenting, like living outdoors, making different shelters and fires. It's pretty cool. But like, okay, right now you just got a lot of people doing this for fun. And you have some who are like, have been clearly doing it for quite some time now. But they still have the idea that they're reliant on wages, and going to the stores to buy things, but it's going to get to a point where you won't be able to do that. So now, yeah, you can, but I'm telling you, by the time, according to scripture, by the time the final 7 years comes, and by the time the mark of the beast starts getting handed out and you can't buy or sell anymore, once you go back to the city, you're either going to have to give yourself to the beast, or you stay out in the wilderness. You can't like go back and forth. So I think really that's it for this video. There's not a whole lot more I can really say to make it any simpler, or expound on it further. That's just the reality. So if you're not paying attention to the things going on around you, I pray that you open up your eyes and start paying attention, because we are being conditioned right now and prepared to be reliant on this beast system that is going to come. It's going to be a system unlike any other government system that has ever existed in the world. So again, it's going to be this. Everything is being prepared to give rise to the beast system. Satan is moving the world leaders to cause unrest. He's causing all types of chaos and confusion. And people are putting up good appearances. You know, those who are in power, getting paid by the beast, they're putting up good appearances. You know, they're doing their part. You know, we're not going to waste any time and energy to uncover who's who's actually a part of the beast and who's not. No, that's all a waste. All you need is the word of God, and because God is light and his word is light, and it will shine in the darkness, and it will expose all those in the darkness. Okay, so the main message here is there's no place for us that's going to be safe. There's no particular country when the Great Tribulation comes. There's not going to be a country or a city or a nation that we will be safe in. I mean, if you want to move to a very cheap country to reduce your costs now before moving into the wilderness or into the mountains, okay, I guess go ahead. I would pray to God for guidance on that. But for sure, be prepared wherever you are or wherever you decide to move to. Do be prepared that it is going to be a reality where you're going to have to choose whether you're going to be in the beast system in the city, or you're going to trust in God and flee into the wilderness and live in the mountains, like we just read in Matthew 24 and Revelation chapter 12. So that is it for this video.